a downlight on each.
Okay.
And LEDs is, I mean, there has to be,
Solar or something.
that's the best way, you get rid of all that, it doesn't matter what angle you could put,
Maybe we innovate with Steve on some sort of light out of the flag, through the flag.
Steve, an electrician?
Steve's the owner.
Yeah, I mean, if we can get somebody to come out and consult on how we aim these lights and to minimize, the direct light into homes and condos.
I like the idea of them being on 10 because it really won't affect anybody. I think Sheridan is too far.
And it may light it up enough, Eileen, just to have it on one side, I don't know. I mean, those lights on the T-box are super bright. You can see all the way out, almost 150 yards, so. Anyway, just something to kick around. You want to have a guy take a look.
Okay.
And it could be low, it doesn't have to be a really high pole. It could be about a tree height pole aiming down at the lake. I don't know how it'll work, but just food for thought. Check it out.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay, thank you, Jeff.
We'll continue those discussions. Some of our fountains and those,
That's his proposal
Oh,
for
okay.
the fountains.
Yeah,
That's a, yeah.
yeah.
there 4 on the side, Jeff?
right now, I think that's
There's eight also.
and looking at that deep lake management plan, there's actually 3 aerators, that only shows 2.
Is there?
Doesn't-
Okay.
It doesn't show the one up on to the left of the driving range, it only shows the 2 on the right side of 18.
So that lake's not deep enough where we don't need aerators?
Oh, no,
It
it's-
has
it's
aerators.
deep. It's like 50-some feet in the center.
I thought if it was like under 20 feet, we had to have an aerator. I thought there was a depth where you had to have aerator once you got so
The
deep.
shallower the water, the more aerator,
Right.
yeah.
It was over 12 feet.
Less than.
So do we need aerators in that?
Is there a
They're
deep
saying
lake
it's 50
management plan?
feet deep.
Yeah, there's a deep lake management. Lee County, when Lee County approved this development, was a deep lake management plan that would require certain areas to have aerators.
This was approved in 99, 98, 99, so it may have been approved prior to that requirement coming into play.
I don't know. Here's a gateway.
I mean, if we don't need
LDC
aerators on it, that's less
Hey Chuck, it
cost,
says,
less
the
maintenance.
thing says LDC approved October 2nd, 2002.
Okay. Well, we have aerators out there that probably should remain in those ponds.
But you're saying they're not operational now?
They are.
No, I think
They're
they are.
maintained by
We think they are. We think they
HOA
are.
maintains.
In addition, we've added one more, so we're 50% more, and then we've got 8 fountains. So we've got a lot
lot
of
of
extra.
movement.
Yeah, a lot more movement than it was planned for.
I'm
just
just
wanna
saying,
make
if
sure
we
we don't
don't
fall
need the
below
aerators,
it,
why
you know?
spend the money?
What's that?
Why maintenance them if we don't need them, or we
They
have to have them?
they are really good for water quality and helps with stratification during the summer hot months. That would be part of your deep pond management, which is why you have your shade trees around the lakes for the fish to have arborage, cool water.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe the HOA, there's an agreement manages these.
They do, but not this lake.
I think all of them. I don't do, because I always dealt with Tammy or.
We get an invoice from the same company that they pay to manage the other one.
Oh, we do, okay, so I've never seen it.
No, this is like Aquatic Systems or something like that. I forget the name of the customer.
They've never contacted anybody about an on-site visit or anything. I want to look into that contract.
Yeah.
I'm not done with anybody.
Yeah, and Chris, to your point, I like the idea of having less so that we don't have to pay more, but like, if we're gonna reduce them, I think we should test the water for whatever it needs to be tested for.
It's going to be a dissolved oxygen level.
Yeah.
The target is usually like 5 or 6 parts per million. So that's kind of what they tend to design them for, running 24/7 to hit that mark. There is a formula out there that they use in designing how many compressors, how many headstone, the diffuser stones, so.
Yeah, it'd be interesting, Jeff might even be interested. What does a fountain
What's it supposed to do?
improve
Well, so like typically in the spring, we have a fish kill on number 1T.
Yeah.
On that lake, typically, every year. We haven't though in like 2 years because of how it hasn't gotten that cold in winter, and at the time when spring changes, it makes what they call the pond flip, right?
Yeah.
And we haven't had, it's been like about 2 years, it seems like now, since we've had
Yeah.
one, but typically we get it.
Oh, yeah.
We get a lot of dead fish in that pond.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it
And it's
prevents.
Also, a
Nasty.
few years ago, we put aerators in some ponds that didn't have them. Was that one of them?
I think that one wasn't working properly, but,
Okay.
yeah, that one's there, when you're leaving 9, it's on the back of that little end.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. All right. Kyle? Oh, John,
Right.
you're the superintendent, you're on.
Oh, righty. Staff reports. All is good with the staff. We're fully staffed on both departments. So we got that going for us. A lot of people applying, which is good. We did our, recently it was May, so we did our flower install, our pine straw install. We got our palm trees trimmed, along with some hardwoods. We took care of that area along on the corner of Port Rush and Stony Brook Golf Drive that was asked for us. I believe I have that. But regardless, that was taken care of, like they'd asked. Along with a couple other areas on 15 that was asked for us by Knighton. There's some oak trees growing in their palm trees. So that was taken care of. Although it's rainy season officially, tomorrow? No, Thursday. It's still pretty droughty. I may use that word, sum up that word. But we don't need rain right now. Next 3 days, after 3 days from now, it can pour. We started aerification today. Everything's going well. It went really well today, actually. Staff did really good. Some of their best timing. So that's good. 3.5 inch. So it's 5/8 with a 1/2 inch inside, 5/8 on the outside.
That's a big,
No, that 3/4 is big. And that's usually done by the contractor once, usually done in July. So I'll give a light golf course renovation update, not to, take any thunder away from Phil, Mr. Simonson. Mr. Gordy Lewis has been sending me some greens drainage. He's been working on that. He sent me like 3 or 4 greens. My biggest concern is making sure we have enough flush outs on these greens, so 5 years down the road, and we really need to flush these things out, we have more access than just one main trunk line. We have more points that we can get to, and just have more control over that process and delay that process as much as possible, ensuring, quality grass for, years to come. So I'm kind of working on that with him, back and forth. That's really all I got going on there. Obviously starting the budget process. I've spoke with Mr. Pender last week. He called me. We had a good discussion about some things we need to talk about moving forward for this budget process. But we're in a good spot there, so all that's starting. As far as common grounds, couple things. So we're starting to do the cul-de-sac replantings. We pulled out some of those crotons and some of those cranum lilies, and we're putting some nice red fountain grass. We're going to put a new bottle palm in the front, so it's going to be 3 bottles with the big royal. We're almost done. I think we got 3 or 4 left. We got to clean out, and then we're going to start planting them all. We have the plants already at the shop. We did some Duffy's replanting. Gentlemen, I did the lights. I did put the agave in front of the one light, but I think the other light needs a little bit more tweaking. From what I could tell, and I asked you to look.
Yeah, I haven't done that yet.
Okay. From what I could tell, the one close up the fountain more, at the higher point, it just needs something else in front of it, I noticed. I think the plant in front of it will do, just not now. It needs to get bigger, but so, I looked at that, and I have some other plants that we can stick there. Nobody'd ever really noticed, and hopefully that'll take care of it for now.
Yep.
I added color up at the breezeway.
Looks great.
Do you like that?
Love the grasses.
Okay, good. But we put the grasses, but I mean, the color in the breezeway, did you
Yes.
see those? We
Yes.
added those,
It's great.
I forget what those are called right now. God, I haven't.
Flowers.
Caladium, those things.
Yeah.
Pretty flowers.
Flowers.
Pretty flowers. So, yeah, we've been having a good time with that drain, working with color paving. It hasn't been the easiest process at all. It's been a lack of communication, complete lack of communication.
Seems like every time I come in the community, there's a geyser.
Yeah,
John?
yeah.
No water.
It's just like, just show up, you know, and you're, all right, you gotta get ready, fire drill. So it was good to talk with Mark about that and, you know, get that nailed down. Hopefully, moving forward, we won't have as much, as many surprises. Couple things I wanted to do. So I gave you guys a proposal for Port Rush Pool. And this is to redo the landscaping around. Eileen, you had asked me to knock down some of the plantings around, keep them low around the fence. That's what we did.
Yes.
We had, in this plan, we added some royal palms. I think that'd be real nice to keep that thing going, maybe move that out to the community even. Talked about if something like this were to get approved, to do that also at Lancaster eventually,
Yes.
once all that headache gets taken care of. You know, just keep going with these royals, and we have them in all the cul-de-sacs already.
Right.
You know.
Well, I think we need to stick with the royals and the bottle
The
palms.
center meeting, yeah, so it's
Yeah.
really good design here. I really like this design, to be honest with you. One of the few ones that I really signed off on. One of the questions I was thinking about, and, you know, as I've been taking care of Stony Brook, is I was thinking that possibly, not possibly, I think this would be a much better look if this whole entire community, minus this area, because this is not our area, the HOA, as far as the CDD is concerned, the community center and baseball field, to be Bermuda. You know?
At Port Rush?
Huh?
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
Common ground.
Everywhere.
Oh, I would love that.
I think that would be, I was thinking about, you know, and here's some, I'll even go to some of the pros and cons I was outweighing, you know, as an agronomist is, so now I don't have to worry about, whatever I spray on Bermuda will kill St. Augustine. There's nothing I can spray on Bermuda to get the weeds out that won't kill St. Augustine. So if I accidentally hit something, you're gonna hurt it, knock it back. To those guys' point, like when I'm trying to kill it, you know what I mean, you know, stuff like that. You're buying a much, it's gonna be a faster process, right? Because you can go out and spray and you can just do it in sections, boom, 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 block it off, you know? You're gonna be buying a lot more of the same chemicals. There's just a lot less room for air. Bermuda can grow in an area that's 16 inches wide. St. Augustine can't. Perfect example, behind 16T, there's a stop sign there that crosses for Lancaster. There's a strip of turf that's no more than 6-8 inches wide. It's Bermuda. That's great. You can't do that in St. Augustine, you know?
John, can you price that up for us? Like, I don't know whether it's like 30 grand.
Yeah, for total pricing, I just do know that, you know, and I talked with Jeff, because I went with Bimini in my head, just because of the golf course, and I said, so I called Jeff and I said, hey, what would the price on something like that be? What's the price difference between St. Augustine and Bimini per pallet? And Jeff, I believe, told me it was $220 per pallet, but on a bigger project, we could probably get them for about $200 per pallet. That's for the sod, that's not the install price.
Okay, that's for the...
A pallet of Bimini sod. You know, it'd be a certain amount of acreage we would have to have under that number to get that number.
But you were saying Bermuda.
Because let's look at here, so do we have, let's look at Port Rush, for example, on here.
John, can you said
You were talking about Bermuda.
and now we went to Bimini.
Are we talking
We're not
about...
saying.
It's a high.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
So when I said Bermuda, that's the,
Okay, that's
Right.
fine. So it's like it's a rose, but it's a
that's
red
a
rose.
cultivar, right, and then
Fine, okay.
Bimini, yeah, so
Okay.
it's a
Thank you.
subspecies, yeah.
You're welcome.
And so on looking at Port Rush, Dorman and Morse, they installed the St. Augustine. I told them about that. I said, you know, I would like to get a price for Bimini. And of course, I said I could get to Bimini for about $200 to $220 per pallet. They would charge, like on this project, he told me they would charge like $200 to install it, $200 per pallet to install it. So,
So we got a price here of 27.5, right?
That's for floor tan muck side, yeah.
How much would the Bimini,
He sent me a text on this project.
That's just the install.
yeah, I understand.
But it would be the same for the install, right? But the grass itself is not on here?
No.
No, it says price includes sod, trucking, and installation.
Okay, there you go.
Because like, it
Where are
doesn't,
you seeing this?
You saw St. Augustine?
on page number 2, the top line
What's the
item.
difference in price between the two grasses?
Oh, okay.
$4 a pallet.
Okay.
So there'll be about, it's minimal, it really is.
Be about 20% more for bid.
Okay.
Okay, so an extra $4,000? Yeah, like, I don't see why you would put St. Augustine in now if you're talking about replacing it later, you know what I mean?
And so, and another concern of mine is so, throughout the community, there's sections of Bermuda grass encroachment already in St. Aug, Center Median, Stratham, there are some areas. Once that happens, it's over. I can spray it, I can kill it with some Roundup, and it'll knock it back, I can sod cut it, I can dig up the soil, and it'll buy time, but it's coming back.
Yeah, I think we'd all like to see it uniform.
Yeah.
I would. My question is, are we doing literally everywhere, all common areas with Bimini?
That is
Is that
owned
what
by the
you're
CDD. We can't do this area here.
No, I'm not worried about the
But we're
clubhouse.
talking
Yes, I'm
about,
talking, because as we're going, we're getting these proposals for this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like roadsides?
Roadsides, everything, almost like coming in like 18 and 1.
Right, so how does that, what do we need to do to median? I think it'd be
It
beautiful.
look way better.
Wow.
Why wouldn't you?
Be unbelievable.
Why wouldn't you?
Didn't we, wasn't the median Bimini at one time? Bermuda?
No.
I remember the HOA had, what was it, Phil? It was Zoysia.
That was
Okay.
beautiful, I'm sure. So my question are the shade areas that we currently have issue with now that's really sparse. How's Bimini gonna, or Bermuda in general?
So,
And is there a way to, not put grass in those areas? We talked about this a little bit.
maybe, there are gonna be some areas that aren't gonna be perfect. That's just the way it is. That are just such deep shade that
Yeah.
maybe, let me give you a perfect example. If you've ever walked along the path, and I know you and Chris do a lot, behind 15 Green. If you're walking behind 15 Green, and you're walking from the pump house towards the community center,
Yep.
once you get to the end of that, and then you hit night into the houses, there's some shade.
Yep.
We've sodded that so many times, and I've kept the rough mowers, the guys off of it mowing, and it doesn't matter. It'll look good for about 3 months, and when the grass grows in, it has that vigor, but then the rains come in, and the lack of sun, and it starts blowing out the soil, and it just slowly, without even anybody walking on it, so it's like some of these areas, it just, you're hard pressed no matter what you put.
is there something else we could
Yeah,
put
is there
there?
another type of grass that we could be more?
Not
shade
that
Okay.
Yeah, it's called pine straw.
there.
Reduce the grass.
Okay, then now you're talking zoysia, but then you're talking a whole nother ballgame in the wintertime when you get zoysia patch.
Okay.
We need to get the landscape people or the design folks to,
But now, remember we put, and again, I'm not a horticulturist or an agronomist, we put those bushes around the pink pumps.
Yes, the palmetto bushes.
Okay. Can we put something, a bush or something, a low bush there where the grass is that would do good in shade, that would live?
At the pumps?
No. Where the grass keeps dying, by the trees.
Yeah, so to Adam's point, you carve some of that out and make it more of a bigger bed.
Yeah.
Right? And maybe do some more plantings.
Like this morning, I went to go, to work, and there's a huge cane to right next to my trash can, right? I mean, they're everywhere in the community. That pathway that people walk their dogs on, they're gonna hide in there. I think the more open you keep that, the safer it is, so like snakes, things, like you don't want things jumping out at you, when you're there. I think close to those pathways, grass, pine straw,
So we should go with pine straw?
less things to hide,
Yeah.
I think that's what I would do.
How big was the cane?
John, I'd like to make a motion here, man. I'd like to propose that we move forward with the proposal that Dorman Morris put forward, with the exception of changing the St. Augustine to Bimini. I think the proposal is 67, let's call it 78, that gives you a little bit of room to move up. and do a small tweak or change order, which may come along.
Okay, to that point, thank you, but we need to ask Chuck, how much money do we have left to spend?
Oh, you're fine.
I know we're fine, but I mean, we do, like,
Hundreds of thousands.
yeah, it's all fine.
Okay.
Yeah, you have hardly touched that side of it. And you actually had $1 million contingency that we put into the financing as well.
Okay, because I know we spent $150,000 out back, we just spent $150,000 on Dunkin'.
No,
I don't know if
we
that's
keep
the same.
going to that well, and it's like, I always scratch my head going, okay.
We borrowed a lot of money.
Page 6, $1.6 million.
Okay. All right, well, I second the motion.
I haven't felt whether or not we don't
North front Fort Rush, between the pool and
That's a lot of grass right there.
that grass right there is soaked all the time.
Any comments?
All right, Phil, I don't know, Phil,
Oh, I know exactly.
He's discussing this.
okay. We can't have two discussions going on. What are you talking about, Phil?
I was asking him, between the Fort Rush pool and the street, that front area right there is soaked all the time. I want to know how many people live in that.
Oh, okay.
And I think there might be, not a leak or something like that, but there's got to be something else going on, more of a soil content.
You know what I'm talking
No, I
about?
know what you're talking about, because it gets really wet, and then we got to let it dry out to bring it back. If not, we're always fighting Kalinga and popping up and stuff. And said, right. So, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, yeah. I mean, if it's like any other route, I'm sure it's going to be, pretty decent, as long as it's not standing water all the time,
That's a wide open space right there.
Yeah.
There is a lot of standing water in there.
At times.
Yeah.
Is there a way to rework it to maybe put like a seating area and a tree or something there?
So if you look, there are some trees added, some royals,
Okay.
and that royal on there is actually getting pushed out from the two.
Okay.
This plan doesn't show that well.
That'll reduce the grassy area.
Here, yeah, this is actually getting pushed out. This should be farther out.
Right.
The royals.
I wouldn't be surprised if we have an irrigation leak underground and maybe,
Don't know.
yeah,
No, we would know about it because it would be leaking out into the gutter by now. I think it's something, I think it has to do with probably the slopage. I think there's some low areas, and once you get that sod up, you're going to see, we need to add some material here, build it up, and get it all
More towards the street.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good deal.
If you guys wanted to see where they've done that, Cypress Woods has done it down in Naples, and Nest has done it, but they did it with Celebration now with Bimini. I'm a big proponent of Bimini. I think Bimini's the best grass going right now.
You said Cypress, which one had Bimini? Cypress Woods?
Cypress Woods went from Florentine to Bimini,
Where'd they put it? Whole course?
all everywhere, like in the common areas.
Oh, nice.
Oh, okay.
Is that private?
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
All right, I'm
I
sure.
can check that out tomorrow. Take a
It's done
picture.
on
Can you get in there?
Yeah.
It's right along 70 on.
Yeah, you can get in there.
Or
There's
75, sorry.
There's no gate.
Oh, really?
No.
Okay.
Call Cisco. Give you a tour.
Oh, I know, okay.
So I know we're just talking about the Fort Rush pool area, but if we're going to move forward with this overall Bimini project, are we doing it both on golf course and common grounds, or is this just
Yes.
common ground?
We will be doing both, but this would just be the common grounds, right?
Yeah.
Because.
Well, I know this, our
Yes,
current, but
okay,
I-
no.
Bimini's the whole golf course, greens and
Rough.
That's where we're moving.
That's where we're moving to,
Okay.
right,
But right now, we would just be doing common ground.
common ground. Because we're not going to do the golf course till we do the.
Right,
whole thing.
right.
Okay. All right, so I have a motion and a second.
Aye.
Hi.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, John, can we speak with Norman and get him started?
Yeah, no.
That's gonna be beautiful.
Get us prices on that, but I think,
Yes, I don't know if you noticed, there's gonna be some uplighting on the palms at the pool,
as there should be.
just kind of match the,
Nice.
Yeah, no, I think that'll be nice, and the grasses around there are gonna be lower. Just for security and to keep kids out of there.
we're gonna have, at the end of the pool is gonna be there's gonna be a jasmine wall at that gate, because there's that pool pump on the outside, and even though
Yeah.
it's gonna have some clusia around it, just to
To hide it.
hide it, so the wall, the sides will be wide open, lower, no more than, 12 to 14 inches tall.
Yeah, because right now, you can't even see into the pool, and, I want it high enough that people have privacy, but not too high where we can't, security-wise, keep an eye on it. Okay, thank you.
The ETA is on that project. Get complete.
Oh, I couldn't tell you, it's getting started, I'd say within 7 to 10 days, maybe 2 weeks at the latest.
About a month project.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty easy, because we got room to work, you know what I mean? We got parking lot space, we got stuff to leave out in the field.
Good.
Last thing we're gonna do is saw, you know.
And then Lancaster are going to wait until all this other goes, but then we can continue down the main road with all we're doing along there. Okay?
Like I said, I wanted to start at Lancaster, because it was the area with the most work, but then realizing where we're at with that, let's get that down.
Yeah.
I don't wanna, do anything out of bounds, out of pocket.
Okay.
On that note, Chris, do we post things on our website like this progress, like this project that's going underway? People can be going, what's going on over here at Port Rush?
We have, progress report.
Yeah, just, this is the next project, should be completed within a certain period of time.
We have typically we have on large projects,
Yeah.
but we really, smaller stuff like this, no, we could. Well, it'll be on, I guess it wouldn't be in
Got a new website, yeah.
Well,
Okay.
Yeah, that's gonna be a whole nother discussion.
What I can do is I can send out through the HOA when you're going to start, June
normally we
7th, we're
just
going to
do an
start, I'll do an
email
email, just so the email blasts are easier.
Yeah, I think we, and I've mentioned this before, with this landscaping project, like, if we have an update on Port Rush, and I live on Lancaster, I want to know when Lancaster's getting done. So you better have the timeline for everything.
Well, I mean, as far as Lancaster, we have to wait until.
I understand. But like, what's going to happen going down, the main drag all the way to the community center? Like,
Okay, the plan would.
This isn't a project update, this is just like one little plot of land, like, I'm talking about
Right.
what's going to happen over the next 6 months. What does that look like?
Okay, well, we'll sit down I'll come down and sit with you and Dorman again and go through it, because I'd like it to be, the Royals and the bottles.
I think it's a
And-
great plan. What's here is great.
And like there's the pink muley grass to do by the concrete stanchions that are along the roads, and that way it's all consistent.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll meet with you guys.
And there's a light down out back.
Yeah, I
sorry?
saw that. What's that about?
I don't know.
I didn't even know there was a light on the left side.
I didn't tell you to see that on the ground, right?
There's what?
A light, one of
Or
our
the
lights.
city's lights, the village lights that we have?
I think those are our lights, aren't they?
I think
We
they're-
pay like 15 or 50 bucks a light to maintain it to FPL.
Oh, yeah, the HOA gets a bill.
Yeah, well, it's down. I don't know how anybody could run into that thing, because I didn't even know it was a light there.
Oh, people do all kinds of things. Okay,
That's all I have for right now, Miss.
okay, thank you, John. Kyle,
Yeah.
your turn.
So for my staffing report, I want to say congratulations to our second assistant, Ryan Vega. He's getting married this week.
Oh.
If you see him around the club, make sure you tell him congratulations. He'll be back on the 31st once we get out of this verification. As far as the financials for May go, at the moment, we're 21% up, but with us being verified this week, we'll probably end the month around 10-15% ahead of last year's May. Rounds were up. Most of everything was up. The PGM report will be really simple as well. PGM consumed about 1,500 range balls this month and did 5 rounds on the golf course. I had Chuck send out the 4-up proposal to everybody. Man, it's a really good product for a really good deal. I know we're still having some issues with the Golf Now contract. I am in contact with Sean Roberts about that. I believe I've communicated what the board wants to him pretty well. He said he is working on a proposal with his managers to come back with us getting off of their technology, but staying on their platform. It's been communicated to me pretty well. We do want to be on the Golf Now website. We do want their spotlights and the marketing. We are kind of, I believe it's like 53% of our rounds with everything Golf Now. So we do want to maintain some sort of relationship, but I have clearly communicated we want off of the technology. We want to get onto a new tee sheet. We want some of the new bells and whistles that come with that, text off the tee sheet, that kind of thing, some of those marketing tools. So that is all in the works. Jeff already talked about the fountains. That's really all I got. Pretty short and simple this month. Golf course has been in really great shape. We had a really good tournament month here. Did about 200 rounds most Saturdays and Sundays this entire month, so that was really good to see. Kudos to John and the team keeping the course in great shape for this long with this little water. That's all I got.
Okay, Tony, with the Golf Now, how are we doing with that? Can we,
Well, I guess the question is, I'm not trying to understand, kind of your last conversation with Golf Now was, can you describe the scope of what the concept is in the proposal, and would it entail a new work order?
Yeah, literally just using their platform and the marketing. So right now, the agreement, I believe there's like 5 or 6 things in there. There's the Golf Now answers, there's the tee sheet, there's the platform, there's the marketing. So it's essentially cutting back on all of those, reducing the trade times with that. And then switching over to the 4-up technology, which was all in the scope of that proposal that they sent over.
Okay, so Golf Now knows that we'll be switching over to 4-up?
They know we want to.
Okay, have they agreed to that?
No, that's what I was saying. Sean, the representative I'm working with, is talking with his management. They're going to work us up a proposal that I'll present to the board.
That's the Golf Now proposal?
Yeah.
To revise it, because there are significant, as we've talked many times, there are significant issues with the current document, and there's multiple documents out there.
Exactly.
And whether or not the document that Golf Now says is the current agreement, whether or not it's valid because of whether or not it was properly authorized, and it does not contain a lot of language and provisions required by Florida law for governmental bodies. I think you and Adam have had communications with Golf Now along those lines. So I guess the question is, are we going to hold tight now with Golf Now, get a proposal, or tell them we're going to terminate them at a point in time and narrow it down to what you just mentioned?
So I've been kind of going at it, assuming we want both options on the table.
Both options being Golf Now with a modified
Yeah.
platform?
I'm sure that's something the board will still want to consider, is a complete termination of the agreement. So I'm assuming you should still be working on that, but I just communicated to the rep that there is a clear dissatisfaction with the trade times, the current agreement, and the technology, and they need to at least provide a new proposal around that and amend what we currently have.
And what about the time frame for the expiration of the contract?
I haven't discussed that at all. I'm sure that's something him and his management are talking about.
The current one or the modified one?
Well, yes, if you go back to the one, the most current one, if you want to call the one in March the more current one, that has expiration of August 8th of 2026. The one that started this whole discussion was the one dated in 2024 that had an expiration date of June 30th, 2025.
Right.
And my understanding of the board's action was to modify what was being provided but not extend the term.
Right.
But the document that was sent without any heads-up or indication of the extension of the term of the agreement is what Golf Now is probably saying is the current one.
Right.
And again, that has a number of deficiencies in it, I think from a legal perspective. For example, it says they can change the terms and conditions, you have to click on a link and you get this. And it says the terms and conditions can be changed at any time by Golf Now. Under Florida law, that's not possible. There's a sovereign, the district has to agree in writing to any changes to the contract term. There's also indemnifications in the provisions in there that are contrary to Florida law. There isn't a public records provision. There is not a E-Verify provision. There's not a prompt payment. There are a number of provisions that are required by Florida law to have a valid contract with a governmental body. And so I guess the question is, if we go by the agreement that was signed by Jeff on April 16, 2024, it says expires June 30th, 2025, non-cancelable except as provided herein thereafter. It shall expire thereafter and shall be not, except for any term upon expiration of the initial term, which by the 2024 agreement, it automatically renewed for 2 successive 2-year terms unless otherwise terminated by either party in writing at least 30 days prior to any renewal term.
So 30 days before June 30th, we need to provide them something.
Well,
Right.
that's assuming, but then what we have after that, there is an agreement dated, again, March 1st of 2025, signed by the chair, which extends it to August 8th, 2026. And that's the one I believe that Golf Now is saying is the current agreement, although there is one dated August 8th, 2024, again, it expires August 8th of 2026. So I guess, Kyle, which one are they saying is the one that they're operating under? The March 2025?
The latest one.
August 8th, 26. So on Friday, let me just kind of share my thoughts on this, because I was working with Golf Now last summer to get some new things put in with Kyle. And in June, I think this is when I was in Europe, I wasn't at the meeting, I was called in. The reason that we brought Sean and Jack in was to present to the board, right? And one of the things that they failed to discuss was extending the contract, right?
Right.
Both in the elaborate PowerPoint presentation that they brought, as well as verbally, okay? And then after the meeting, they sent in a proposal to DocuSign, not to me, but another board member, and you know, that's what they're kind of using as their reference point. So I was calling into the meeting, I think Chris Brady was also calling into the meeting, so neither of us even had line of sight to any of the printouts which were shared. So I kind of went back to Sean and shared my frustration and the fact that as the person representing the board in the middle of all of this, I wasn't communicated to very well. And then a document was sent in and it wasn't sent to me, and, you know, again, very frustrating for me. That said, it's my opinion, after conferring with Tony, that the agreement ends on the 30th of June this year. And whatever agreement they have in play doesn't hold weight, and we need to send them a cancellation on the June 30th, and we effectively give them the opportunity